Welcome back to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I'm your host, Kendall Aaliyah.
And I'm Julia Renee.
What were you looking at?
It looks like I'm not interested in what you're doing
just
at
like
all. I'm just like,
texting
yeah,
your
and I'm
friends.
Julia Renee. No, I'm looking for this post, guys. This like Kendall and I before we also welcome. Hi. We forgot.
Hi, welcome.
We forgot the jingle.
Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's too late now. I can't
way
even
too
go
late.
back.
We were talking about like when you have a family member or family members that like shove food down your throat, especially like when you change your habits and you're trying to be healthy and then they're like, wait, what? Because I have one of my clients, like she's really struggling right now with her family like wanting to feed her and stuff like that. And I know that's very normal. Like I come from a Hispanic family and an Italian family, and that's just what you do. And my grandma, when I first started bodybuilding, was always like, Mija, I need to feed you. You're looking so thin.
Aw.
You know, and I'm like, I know, but like, that's good. Like for me.
Yeah.
So I can't find the video, but I will definitely try and find it. But I saw this video that explained it so well. And it was like this little skit done by a couple or something, I think. And it was like how to handle your family whenever you get asked to like eat something off plan and they like make you feel guilty. And like on the one side, the guy is like making the girl feel guilty. And she's like answering in such like a self-aware adult way.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel good when you do that. And I have very specific goals. So I'd appreciate it if you just didn't do that to me. And I was like, this is great, honestly.
As like cheesy as it might sound, that's honestly what I had to do with my family, because we're very much so like a family that like gets together for dinners or for like lunches. Like we don't typically, whatever we're doing is revolved around like food.
Yes.
Which nothing's wrong with that. I love food, but when I'm in bodybuilding prep, it was such a communication thing where I had to explain to them of, hey, this doesn't mean I don't enjoy spending time with you and still sitting at this table with you. Let me just eat my boring ass meals, you know, like let it just be my problem and not your problem.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And you don't
Now they know.
Yes. Now it's just like, oh, whatever.
Now they know Hangry Kendall is no one you want to F with. So
Yeah.
they just let me be and do my thing.
Yeah. So I'm curious, guys, if y'all have family members that have done that to you or maybe currently do that to you or friends who are like, you've changed. Actually, I think we have something talking about that in today's episode, because today's going to be like a full episode of everything that you guys sent us in that you wanted advice about. But I do want to put like a blanket trigger warning for like eating disorders, any food issues,
Body image. Yeah.
stuff. I know this is kind of a big trigger warning of different things, but we have a little bit of both.
I always add the timestamps now to all of our episodes. So I will be putting the specific kind of like overarching questions or things they want advice on. So if you see any of the, like on the bar below the YouTube video, if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, we can't do this on Spotify, but if you're on YouTube, you can skip to a question or an advice segment that you think is a little better for you. If one of them does sound like it would be triggering, just skip it.
I was very, not really shocked, but sort of shocked, because there was a lot that had to do with like dieting and like eating disorders, like things like that, like just struggling in that in general, and a lot of bodybuilding stuff. So it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Except Kendall and I have to read now, and
I
we
was
struggle
gonna
with
say,
reading.
I hope you're ready to read today, because ain't no way my anxiety's getting through some of these longer
We
ones.
got him.
I was like, we could have paraphrased them a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, this one's already long. Okay, the first one, we got morning. First of all, I would like to thank you for creating this podcast. I enjoy listening to you in my morning walks and learning at the same time that I have a great time. See, this is why we don't read, because we can't.
But it wasn't your fault.
Okay,
it's how it's written.
I would like to ask you for advice in two aspects. The first one, I have been in a caloric deficit for almost 2 years now. Okay, there's a problem. That's the problem. No, I don't know. Although I have periods when I'm on holiday or whatever that I'm not, then my husband started worrying about me eating so little throughout the week. And then when the weekend comes, it's like a window opens. So we came to the conclusion that I'm not having a good relationship with food. Valid.
Love the self-awareness.
Self-awareness queen. If anything affects me emotionally or I'm stressed, I tend to restrict food even more because I'm afraid I will lose control. So whenever I allow myself to eat off track, I never feel satiated or satisfied. How can I stop this? I feel very frustrated. The other thing is I have lost. Okay, let's talk. I think we should talk about the first part. Let's talk about the first part of the question and then we'll go to the second one.
I have definitely been there, and I feel like this happened to me a lot in prep because it's almost like a warped control of food where you think you have a really good control because, oh, I've been in this deficit for 2 years. I choose when I don't eat, or I choose when I restrict or eat less than I know I should be, whatever. That feels like you have control when in reality that means food is still controlling you.
Yes.
If you're even having those thoughts or those feelings, or when something in your normal life happens, you immediately assume you have to overcompensate or undercompensate with how you eat. I feel like you're aware of that by writing this in and being like, hey,
great.
I'm aware that I'm having this negative relationship, and just know, like, first off, you're not alone because I have done this like to a T.
I read it and was like, this is me. This is me.
I feel like it's so common just with like how we're raised in diet culture. Yeah. Like it's really all about unlearning habits and things you do and just being really nice to yourself and not feeling like you have to do those repercussions of like, oh, I'm stressed out, therefore I'm gonna restrict how much I eat. Like it's about healing that relationship of like, figure out why you're stressed out and why does your brain instantly go to food, or how you can like sabotage yourself or change something in a different avenue of your life. I feel like going into that root problem will make that relationship with food easier.
Yeah, because it seems like when she gets stressed, she restricts food even more in fear of overeating in the future.
Yeah.
But the act of restricting food even more in the first place actually perpetuates eating more later.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
If anything, yeah. I completely get that, because if you just allow yourself to continue eating as normal and on plan, you're not going to have those cravings or that desire to overeat in a week, in a month, however
because
long.
You think that, and I understand this logic because I have done this logic myself. What I used to do was whenever I would have, like when I was struggling with binge eating, I would have like a binge eating night or whatever the next day, as some form of punishment, which I know now, when you traditionally struggle with like binge eating plus bulimia, there's other ways that you can quote unquote undo this mistake that you feel like you have made.
Well, it's like binge restrict cycle.
So it could be by over exercising.
Yeah.
It could be also, people have done like taking laxatives, like stuff like that. There's other ways to do it than the traditional way. So what I would think that I needed to do, because I had a evening binge or whatever, that I would need to restrict the next day. That would either be I would fast the next day, or I would do an excessive amount of cardio, whatever it might be. But by doing this, it actually perpetuated me having the same binge eating episode again, because I was binging, then super restricting.
Yeah.
I would get super, super hungry. And then the end of the night, I would be like, well, I didn't really eat all day.
Yeah.
Let me just have this one thing. But then it's like she said, the floodgates would open and I would feel like I needed to eat everything.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Another thing that I wanted to point out with that is that you said that you've been on a diet for 2 years.
I just want to know why.
That is a long time to be on a diet. And even like there's a lot of bodybuilders that seemingly are on a diet for just like ever. But there's this thing called dieting adaptation that happens. The more you diet and the closer in which you diet from one diet to the next, the harder your next diet gets. So for example, when I first cut for a bodybuilding show, and I had never done it before, never gone to that extreme level, never really gone on a diet before. That first time was relatively quote unquote easy because I have never done that before.
Yeah.
The next time I did it, it got a little bit harder. The next time I did it, it got a little bit harder. And the closer that you have your diets to one another, the harder that it gets, because you don't give your body a long enough break to get back to maintenance, get back to baseline, fuel yourself so that you can actually have a positive response when you bring your calories back down again.
Yeah.
So I would also consider maybe giving yourself a little diet break, going more into like a maintenance level calories. I don't know, if it really has been genuinely 2 years, but that's a lot on you mentally.
For sure.
And physically.
I feel like it's so hard. I wish we could like call these people and like ask further questions. But based on what she was saying, I feel like she's been in this caloric deficit out of fear of going into a surplus. But if you find a good maintenance calories for yourself, you won't feel the need to overeat because you'll be satiated, but you also won't feel the need to cut lower because your body will level out. And sometimes I lose body fat on a maintenance calorie because my metabolism's working again. But if you've like constantly been undercutting your metabolism, it's not going to be working to like its full potential. So I completely agree. I would definitely take a little break.
Take a little break.
Mentally and physically. I guarantee you'll feel better because of it. Do you want me to read the second part? That way we can split some of these up. Where were we? The other thing is I have lost my friend during my fitness journey, and I also have had to face comments from my own parents or sister. We were kind of just talking about this. I have had stomach and cholesterol issues since I was a child, but these last years, the problems got worse. Once I started going to the gym and eating healthily, they stopped calling me because I wouldn't want to eat whatever, wherever, whenever, almost every day. They say I'm obsessed and that my stomach issues are just psychological. I feel they don't respect me. It's not that I don't go out. It's just that I prefer not going out on a Wednesday night to eat because I wake up at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't be able to get any sleep. Also, I don't drink and they are all into drinking. Should I waste my time with them trying to understand me or try to find better surroundings? Again, thank you so much for this podcast. You're welcome.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times. It's like, I feel like it's different with family. She's saying like her parents and her sister. That's different. Where like, I've always tried to maintain those relationships. It's hard in a prep. Like even Julia's in prep and we don't hang out quite as much. And like, that's just something we understand and it's a boundary because she's doing a lot. And even if you're not in bodybuilding prep, you're still doing a lot, focusing on yourself. It takes time away from other relationships. And I feel like that is completely okay. And it is we always call bodybuilding and like going on a fitness journey almost like a selfish sport, but it's selfish in a positive way. It's not like that selfishness is bad, and other people should be able to see that and respect that. And if they're not respecting you, you either have to communicate that or distance yourself a little bit until that has like time to heal, and then you can come back together and hopefully have a better experience. Yeah, like we always want our friends and family to support what we do. Like obviously that would be the easier choice for them to respect what we do, but they don't have to. Yeah. That's the thing. And I know that like hurts and that sucks, and you can do everything that you can to try and, convince them or explain to them. And if you've already done that, then you've done your part. You shouldn't feel any guilt or you shouldn't feel bad because you've done your part. And if they just don't get it, then they just don't get it. Like, I've been doing what I do for a couple of years now. And when I first started, it was a little bit weird because your family and your friends expect you to be one way. They expect you, maybe you were the person that went out and drank. Maybe you were the person that went to dinner on a Wednesday night, and it didn't matter because you woke up at 10 a.m. the next day and you didn't wake up to go work out. But now you're kind of a completely different person, and you know that you're a different person for the better, and it's better for yourself. Yeah. Exactly. I feel like holding on to your why, like why you're doing this, is like good enough. And I do agree that you should find better surroundings. Not saying you forget about your old friends or family or whatever is causing that animosity, but finding a new circle that does support you can give you that support of like, hey, what I'm doing is the right thing and I am making a good decision for myself. Like, I don't think we would have became friends years and years and years ago when we were both very different people, but when we both really got into the fitness industry and started caring about social media and the gym and competing and all these things, that's what built our relationship. So finding those like-minded people it's important.
Yeah, and you can find it in other places. Like Kendall was saying, it doesn't have to be friends and family. It can always be people that get it more, like me and you. And I didn't think I was going to be able to find that when I first, transferred from being a hairstylist. I had this exact thing happen. I had a huge group of friends when I was a hairstylist, and they loved doing hair and they loved doing makeup and they loved talking about doing hair and doing makeup. I still love those things, but during that time, I loved like eating healthy. I loved going to bed early. I still do. I love waking up early and doing my cardio. I didn't really go out with them. So our likes changed, and we ended up growing apart, and it was sad because I felt a little lonely at times, and I know that you might feel that way too, but my new interests open up new friends.
Yeah.
And
I feel like a huge tip I have for this one too is like use social media. When I started competing, I was a teenager, and like no one at my school competed. They all thought I was crazy for carrying around like a gallon with me. I was very much so that kid. But I found like a handful of other teenagers competing in other states, in other countries, but we followed each other. We supported each other. I asked them questions through DMs all the time. Like you can still find that community even if it isn't in person, because sometimes in-person relationships take longer. But yeah, there's like sense of community in so many different ways. I definitely recommend surrounding yourself with more like-minded people, and then maybe trying to heal that relationship in a different way, suggesting you do different things with your family or like grab like brunch with them instead of having to go out at night and stuff like that. But I know that's hard.
Yeah. Explaining why it's important to you and why it matters to you is always a good way to go. And at the end of the day, they don't have to understand. They might not. They might not.
You might need to cut some people off, but that is okay. I'll read the next one because it's short.
Okay.
Short-ish. Hey, ladies. First off, love your channels and adore the podcast. Thank you. The energy you both have and how you interact with one another is fire. Thank you.
Thanks.
I feel the need to say thanks to everything like they're in person with us. I am a soon-to-be 60-year-old female, have been training pretty seriously for 7 years now with my trainer on my own in the gym. And on my own in the gym. Trainers are expensive, agreed. But I adore him. I've worked out basically my whole life, but really focused on resistance training in the last 7 years. I'm 5'6", 145 pounds. I don't follow a rigorous plan, and I eat intuitively. Love that. I'm healthy with no health problems at all. My squat is 185. I'm like trying to think of what she could be asking advice on because she looks like she's killing it.
Yeah.
Okay, my squat is 185. Deadlift, sometimes sumo, is 165, and bench is crappy at only 95. She does explain she doesn't focus much on bench, which I feel like none of us do. I haven't benched in years. I'd really like to enter a powerlifting competition. Any suggestions? Thank you, ladies. You're the best. Okay, first off, love this, that you're soon to be 60 and getting into something quote unquote new for you. Like obviously you've been into fitness, but taking it that next level is exciting. I am one where I'm like, do it. Just go for it. Even if I would talk to your in-person trainer about it, and if he doesn't have the knowledge, I would maybe seek getting like an online coach instead and just switching gears for a little bit, trying to explain to your trainer. You'll be back once you're done with prep, or if they're able to help you, that's amazing. I feel like you're already really strong, so I don't think you have to change much. I think find like a local powerlifting competition, even if it's like not, I don't even know the federations for powerlifting, but if it's not like a like nationally qualifying meet, that's okay. I feel like at least here in Austin, we sometimes have these like casual meets at like colleges, high schools, some of the gyms. So I would just look it up of like what's in your area, what's coming up, and go and enter and just see how you feel about it. And if you really like it, that's when you can like invest more time and energy and money and maybe eventually go into that like nationally accredited federation.
Yeah. And like I have a friend that was training more like, I guess, bodybuilder-ish. And then she went into doing more powerlifting, and she actually switched coaches. So because the training is definitely different.
Very
of course, we don't know much about like how to program someone for powerlifting, but it is completely different.
They do RPEs and lower reps.
Yeah. It's so different than bodybuilding. So she was like, putting the feelers out there in the gym and like seeing like if anyone knew powerlifting coaches so that she can switch her gears and train a little bit differently, and because she wanted to compete in a powerlifting competition. So I say go for it.
I've actually always wanted to, and I know I will. Like sometime within the next 5 to 10 years, I think I will try to compete in powerlifting. Again, similar approach to what I'm recommending here. Just do it for fun and see how you like it. And if you like it, take it that step further, Like you'll never know if you like bodybuilding if you don't step on stage.
Yes.
Some people hate it.
Yes. That's why I always tell people rent your first suit in bodybuilding because you don't know if you're going to want to do it again.
Exactly. Don't overcommit. But that's awesome. And I'm proud of you. And also thank you for all the praise.
This next one, hold on.
This next one's a long boy.
I got it. Hey, Kendall and Julia. I love you both so much. I'm actually currently in Julia's Quad Queen program. What? Quad Queen program. Link down below if you want to grow your legs. Shameless plug.
Always.
But I'm looking for some advice with the mindset of changing your diet. I finished a pretty heavy year of running races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and even 2 half marathons in one day, which took a lot of training and caused me to lose a ton of body fat. And I continued weight training the whole time. My body weight isn't that different, but I am very lean now. People comment on my size all the time, and it made me really insecure. I was attempting to bulk for God knows how long. I was eating nearly 3,000 calories a day during half marathon training and getting nowhere as far as the scale goes. I just kept eating and getting nowhere except feeling absolutely sick and bloated all the time. I decided to take a step back from intense running and eating and lean back into my weight training more, hence the Quad Queen program. Thanks, Julia. Love you bunches. Now that I'm not running as much, I don't need as much food. But when people comment on my size, physique, how much I eat, or even the amount I exercise, I find myself going home and wanting to eat everything in the house. And even though it makes me sick and it doesn't feel good, how do you make your mindset with eating less related to your physique goals? Physique-wise, I want to get bigger, but I don't think it's healthy for me to keep hyper-fixating on that. So I'm trying to let it go for now. But that means I also need to change the mindset of my diet, if that makes sense. And that's been really hard for me and causing binges. I don't know what to do. Everything just feels kind of off. What do you guys think? I'm sure your advice will mean much more to me than you think.
Okay. I feel like I can answer this.
Kendall's like, I got this. Okay.
I used to be that person, especially when I was first recovering from binging, like in my worst stage of binging. And I was that person where when people would comment on how much I was eating, my size, my body, even if it was compliments, I would get insanely triggered. And then obviously food was my comfort at that time. So it was easy to slip back into that habit. I had to heal my relationship with myself and my body image. I thought it was all about food. I thought I had to heal my relationship with food. I had to heal my relationship with how I viewed myself, because why were these people's comments bothering me so much? You know, you should feel secure enough and proud enough and I guess just motivated enough that even like if someone said something really nasty to you, it shouldn't be able to faze you because you're secure in yourself enough to not feel like you had to retaliate, even if that's in a form of quote unquote self-harm with binge eating, because you know that's going to cause negative feelings down the road. So my piece of advice here is it's not so much mindset around diet, it's more mindset around yourself as a whole. And then obviously your diet or how you eat is a part of that. And for me, it took getting rid of my scale because even earlier in this year, I got so hyperfixated. The scale wasn't moving and I couldn't figure out why. And it was making me upset. And then, of course, I have a much better relationship with food now. So I wasn't really slipping into like overeating, but it would cross my mind. And I'm like, okay, that shouldn't even be crossing my mind. So let's solve this, get rid of the scale. If I'm not weighing myself, if I'm not like doing measurements and I'm just going fully based off of intuitive eating, how I'm feeling, how the foods I'm eating make me feel mentally. Am I high energy right now? Do I feel sluggish? Okay, let's take that thing out, you know, instead of making every single decision. Will this make me lose body fat? Will this make me gain muscle? Make it more, how will this make me feel for my workout later today? Yes. And just view it so objectively and not pertaining to how your physique looks at all.
Yeah. And I feel like what she's I'm trying to imagine her, and she probably got really lean from running that much and training for something like that. You probably burn a crap ton of calories, and that's why she had to eat so much in order to like fuel what she was doing. I know that runners, I used to work with a Iron Man doing guy and he would have like his packs would have food and like certain things in it so that he would like eat it while he was running, and he was super lean without even trying. And he ate a lot of food. He just worked out so much that he just wasn't lean, and it was difficult for him to put on muscle mass. So I can get that that can be frustrating. So I'm wondering if people's comments are more like in admiration of like, how do you train so much? Like you're kind of like a badass, like, oh my God. But I'm also wondering maybe if they're like, you need to slow down, like chill, like they're worried about you.
I can't tell if it's
I can't tell if it's admiration or like concern.
Yeah.
But
either way, don't pay any mind to anyone else's comment. It's your body. You're living in this body. As long as you're happy with this body, if you want to put on muscle, if you want to put on size, do it. If you are happy where you're at, also don't feel pressure from other people telling you need to change your body type. Just do what you want to do and what makes you feel good in your skin, ultimately. Yeah, because the one thing you want to think about is when people are saying those things, like maybe they're talking about how lean you are or whatever it might be. Do you like how lean you are and they're making you feel bad about your physique, like, and you're letting them make you feel bad about your physique? Or do you genuinely want to like put on muscle? Because when people make comments like Kendall was saying about a certain aspect of you and it hurts like your feelings, my thing is always like, well, why did that hurt my feelings? Exactly. Is there some kind of truth behind it? Do I also believe that thing about myself? And is that why I'm getting triggered? So that's something to kind of think about is, are you putting on muscle because this is genuinely something that you want to do? Or are you putting on muscle because you think that this is what other people want you to do? Exactly. That was a good ending to this. Agreed. Because that was my problem for so long, especially post-prep. Like I was already hating on myself. So if anyone said anything, even if they meant it as a compliment, I like immediately put up like a wall of defense. What'd you say? And they're like, I said you look good today. And you're like, what does that mean? No, because you don't genuinely feel good about yourself. Yeah, so that's what matters. Last little thing about that is that if you have switched your training, you also have to think about you're switching from like a different kind of training into more of a bodybuilding training. It is completely different. So you don't have to shove thousands of calories down your throat in order to build muscle. Yeah. You don't. You might have the physique that's more of a called like a hard gainer, where you can eat a ton of food and it's really hard for you to put on muscle, but you can stay lean like nobody's business. You might be that kind of body shape. I don't know you, so maybe. So that also might be why it might be a little hard for you to put on muscle, but you don't have to force feed yourself. Yeah. You can put on muscle at your maintenance level calories, and you can also put on muscle with a tiny bit of a increase in calories. It doesn't need to be like a dirty bulk, like thousands of calories, because at the end of the day, you're not really feeling your best, and you need to feel your best when you're training. So. I also advise doing a food sensitivity test, because when I was trying to eat more to gain muscle and was bloated all the time, turns out I was allergic to half the things I was eating. Now she's gluten-free. I know you stated like twice in this how overeating or even trying to eat 3,000 calories a day, which yes, that's a lot, but shouldn't be so much where you're like physically in pain. Yeah. I would advise just looking into it, just a suggestion, not saying that's what any of this bloating or the physical repercussions of the food is, but just in case, doesn't hurt to anyone listening. Yes. Changed my life personally. This next one's a long one. Do I have to read it? No, it's not. I can't. Never mind. Okay. I'm currently in prep only for a photo shoot. I have had problems with binging throughout, so my weight stalled. So recently my diet has gotten very low and my cardio has gotten very high. We have been there. As my coach kept putting calories down, I had now lost my period and experiencing a lot of symptoms of, I cannot say this, can you? Hypothalamic amenorrhea. Hypothalamic I am so sorry for being incompetent.
Yeah, we're so stupid.
It's basically when you lose your period,
Yes.
which is which is creating extreme hunger, probably the cause of the binging, extreme tiredness and fatigue, headaches, hair loss, brain fog, trouble sleeping, and stress. I feel like embracing the suck of this prep, as many bodybuilders promote on social media, but can't help but feeling that this is unhealthy and damaging, especially since I'm only prepping for a shoot and not for a show.
Yeah.
Is this normal and something you guys have experienced on prep? I feel like I am very sensitive to diet and extreme exercise, and this is making me feel like I'm not cut out to compete, which was my goal in the future. I don't know how to say this to my coach. I don't want to let them down. I also feel disappointed, but my health is the most important thing in the world to me, as I wanted to be around for so long for my son. I don't want to risk my health for aesthetic goals. I am also only 10 months postpartum, and I feel like I've potentially really effed my body over by starting this prep. I suppose I'm really asking is, how do you determine what is normal and what is dangerous when it comes to health and what you are dieting for an extreme sport?
What I was going to say before I started this is like, this was one of my favorite questions, because I was like, it's very valid. And
I'm also so glad we're talking about it, because so many people don't. Like, I've never heard bodybuilders talk about this. Have you?
No.
Okay. And it is so common.
Yeah. Never.
Sadly, I'm laughing at it because I like to make things lighthearted, but it really is terrifying. I had lost. Okay, so first off, just so you feel seen, it sounds like this is really extreme for you, and I don't want to assume that my situation was the same as yours, but I lost my period for my entire prep, which was like a 5-6 month prep. My last prep I did.
So far, I haven't lost mine yet.
Yeah.
But I probably will soon.
Have you lost it every prep?
Every prep. And I know we're saying this like it's like super normal. It's just because like this has happened to us, and we want to be honest with you, because especially for women at a certain point, there's a lot of women that lose their periods that are not even on prep for a bodybuilding show.
Yeah, it can be hormonal.
A lot of gymnasts lose their period at a very like young age because of how hard they're training, maybe how little they're eating. For women, it's a very huge marker to like our health. If we have our period or if we don't have our period. And when we are training a lot, eating less calories, it's easy to start losing your period. And because you're putting your body through an excessive amount of training. And every time that I lose my period, for me, I always know, because I'm like, okay, I am training a lot. My cardio is up. My calories are low. And it is something that's very normal for bodybuilders, but you're right. I don't think people talk about it.
Yeah, I think a few things. First, just like advice-wise, talk to your coach.
Yes,
and if you don't feel
honest.
comfortable talking to your coach, find a new coach, because that is not the coach for you. The coach you have should make you feel comfortable enough to come to them about anything, especially something this serious and about your health. And if you come to them about this and you say everything you just said to us and they don't care, fire that coach.
They need to care.
Your health comes first, especially because you're not in prep for the show. If I were you, I would increase my calorie intake and lower my cardio a little bit, just to get back to a place where I felt healthy and had energy, and I wasn't like the fatigue and the brain fog and all of those things. Those are all signs of being unhealthy or approaching unhealthy territory, and you just don't want to continue on that track and feel like you need to just because you see people on social media doing it, because people on social media oftentimes aren't sharing the fact that they are dying behind the scenes. You know, like I feel like when I shared my prep, it was all glitz and glam, and every day I was crying in my car and felt like I was going to throw up, and I was so fatigued all the time, and that's not good. That's not what you're built for longevity wise. Like a shortcut for a bodybuilding show, it has an end date and then you're done. But if you're going for a photo shoot, odds are, girl, you can do this at your own pace. Slow it down a little bit.
You don't need
find
to be
healthy.
like bodybuilder shredded lean to do a photo shoot, especially postpartum. I'm assuming this might be like a postpartum like photo shoot, like you like getting your body back and stuff like that, and you're already going through a lot like being postpartum. So it is crazy that the coach's approach is very bodybuilder-esque, like a show. But she did ask the question of, if this is what bodybuilding prep is like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like handle it. And just to be honest, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is.
I feel like bodybuilding prep is so difficult to talk about because it's so different for everyone. And there are some people out there that have an easy breezy prep and they feel great. And I've even had one of my preps ever. I felt great because I feel like my coach was just really good about us taking our time and going slow and keeping my calories pretty high until like the last few weeks. But I've also had preps where I lost my period immediately and felt awful every single day, but knew it was still what I wanted to do. So also check in with yourself. If you're asking us these questions, odds are you've already kind of made up your mind of, hey, I know this isn't healthy and not really worth it for a photo shoot. I do think approach to prep is differently. And we speak to the fact that prep is not healthy because it's not maintainable.
But also with a true, like a really good bodybuilding prep, you should, if those emotions of fatigue, like being super, super tired and sensitive and like all of those things, like just all of the things that she said she was feeling, usually those at the extreme cases only happen when you are so close to the show. Usually, right, like you said, everybody is different. There's people that can go through their preps, and I've had friends still have tons of calories, no cardio, and they're fine.
Nice.
I'm the opposite, where I need a lot of cardio, very little calories, but I don't feel like crap the whole time. I don't lose my period the whole time.
It's usually the last few weeks for me, or that
really
last like
pushing.
month.
Usually like that 4 week out mark where your calories are most likely at the lowest. You're trying to get your physique to the best that you absolutely can, but it shouldn't be like that the entire time. And a photo shoot shouldn't either. So talk to your coach, number one.
Please. Or get
about
a new
how you're
one.
feeling. And if depending on how he or she responds, get a new one.
But I don't know. This just like, I want to give you a hug. You're also going through so much and you just literally created human life. So just be nice to yourself. We just have 2 more.
Let's do this last one.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Siren. I can actually share.
Sick name.
Siren, I know. I could share her name because this is the one that told me I could. I know you probably get thousands of emails a day, but I still wanted to reach out. I follow your YouTube channel and podcast, as well as Kendall's YouTube. I love you ladies so much, and you guys are the reason I've decided to go into wellness bodybuilding.
Yes.
I was a competitive soccer player until I had 2 knee surgeries and a whole meniscus transplant. Whoa. I was then told I could never play high impact sports again. I thought I would never be an athlete again until I found you, Julia, and I realized I could still be an athlete by being a wellness bodybuilder. I'm 16. I'll be 17 in July. Do you suggest going ahead and trying to start getting into bodybuilding or wait until later in life? I plan to go to college for nutrition. Start now.
Yeah, I would say start. I started when I was your age and I don't regret it at all. And it's one of those things where I had some people around me being like, this is a phase. And like, you're going to like get sick of bodybuilding. And I'm like, I already know the next 30, 40 years of my life, I will be weight training. I will be into bodybuilding, whether that's actively competing or not. I'm so glad I started when I did because it also taught me so much. Like I'm one of those people, I feel like we say this all the time of like, I wish I started younger. I wish I started when I was your age.
If I was 16 or 17 and I started bodybuilding, I mean, I was weightlifting from 15 to 18 and wrestling and stuff like that. But like, if I had the opportunity to intentionally train like a wellness bodybuilder at 16 or 17,
like imagine.
I'd be fucking massive right now. I would be massive. So yes, we're so proud of you. Go for it. Start training now. Train now like you're a wellness competitor. Get into the gym, train like a bodybuilder, because then in the future, when you do start putting on the muscle mass, you gain more confidence and all of that stuff comes, you can start competing. You can also compete at this age. Kendall did.
Yeah. I do wish I waited until I was maybe like 18 to compete, just so I took more time to learn more about the sport and really understand what prep entailed instead of being like, I'm just going to hire the first person I know and jump into it. But if you're already like watching Julia or like our YouTubes or the podcast, you're already gaining knowledge. I think just continue doing that while you train. And when you feel like you're in a good spot where you want to start a prep, not anyone else, not anything you're seeing online, just fully how you're feeling, go for it. I'm all for it. This makes me so, I love all I ever wanted. When I like started doing social media, I was like, I want to be the fitness big sister to people, but like I'm so young and not the big sister to most people. So when we have actual like young girls that reach out, I get so excited and I'm like, yes,
I know.
this is all I ever wanted.
I have a wellness competitor that is going to be competing for the first time in summer shredding July 13th.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with her because she's like 18 and I feel like
I started following her after you told me about her.
I feel like she's like this little like little sister. And I'm like, I just want to like take care of her. It's her first time doing a prep, and like she's realizing like
mom.
what is I'm gonna be a stage mom. I'm gonna be on the side like screaming. If I could be backstage with her, I will be backstage with her. But I'm excited because that was my first show ever, and I remember like being young and had that being my first show and being so nervous, and now being able to be on the other side of it. Like I became a pro after doing that show and getting to see it. And she's 18, getting to see like an 18-year-old start her journey.
Insane.
And I was like, I just keep pumping into her. Like, if you keep going, you will be amazing. You're already so far ahead. You have it. Just like keep going. And she's like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that too. I felt like when I was like at your age of the person that sent this in, I was so scared that I was like the only one my age doing it. Again, back to earlier with finding a community online. But also, do you know Issa, the wellness pro Olympian? She started when she was 17, 18. Like I've seen photos of her 18 and on stage, and her progress in the last, I don't know how old she is now, but in the last several years, every single stage shot got better and better. And even at 18, she looked amazing. So just like use that as fuel of, even if you start now, regardless of how you place or how you feel or how you do, it's only going to get better and easier every year you do it, and the more muscle you put on. And yeah, I'm just all for young competitors. That was a good one to end on. I know this was like kind of a heavy episode.
A little bit, guys. So yeah, we appreciate you guys sending your stuff in. We let us know if you liked the advice column, and if you guys have any other ones you want us to answer, we could save it for another episode. You can email us at knowyourpowerpodcast. knowyourpowerpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, we love you all so much, and you are more powerful than you think.
Bye.